So I have begun a whole new journey with Record of Ragnarok. It's a series quite a few people on the channel has recommended to me, but on top of that, with the live stream I did a few days ago with Roger and King Lightning and all of them, with, debating the best manga of 2020, Record of Ragnarok was there, and it was definitely very popular. Many were saying, you gotta read it, and then I was told a little bit more about it with, it being all mythological themed. I was like, okay, this is definitely something I'm probably going to enjoy, and so thus, here I am, doing a first impressions of the manga. Now, I'm just going to be straight up with you. I've only read one chapter at this time, and the reason for it is because I probably am going to be doing a read-through with a stream. Like, I want to read it while people, get to react to it, or, see how I react to the series, etc. That's kind of what I'm probably going to do, maybe in the next few days or so, but I just wanted to kind of get it out there, that Record of Ragnarok, I am currently reading it, and it is definitely a series that you should have your eye on, because it is pretty freaking good. So, let's stop the waiting, let's get into actually what it is and why it's something I'm even willing to talk about. So firstly, I gotta talk about this artwork. Like, it is absolutely incredible. Like, just look at this artwork, and this is really telling to what you're about to get into when you read this, because this is the first chapter, and little FYI, if you know how manga works, usually the first chapters, when you compare it to, like, the final chapters of a story, the quality of the chapters are insane. Like, you look at, say, something like Tokyo Ghoul in comparison to the final chapters of Tokyo Ghoul Re, or you look at something like Naruto to the final chapters, or you look at, let's say, something like, My Hero Academia, you get the point, or even One Piece. You always see the increase in art quality, and you can see it clearly from this series that it's probably going to get better as the story goes on. I mean, this is the first chapter. I can't imagine what it's going to be later on if it's already this good. But, yeah, I just want to say, I wanted to shout out the artwork because it looks really good. So, as I've already said, briefly, it has mythology, and you all know, I love mythology. I love Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, Chinese mythology, Japanese mythology, etc., etc. I like all forms of mythology. It's very fascinating, just seeing different depictions of heroic figures of legend, different deities or gods to explain how the universe works. It's always something that has been very fascinating for me. I've always enjoyed that type of stuff. And this series kind of does everything that I would want from mythology in a story. And so, the main premise of this is that one day, there was a giant council meeting of every god in existence. And they were in this giant parliament, just looking down and trying to figure out what they should do to humanity. Every 1,000 years, they come together and they debate if humanity should be executed, or if they can continue on living for another 1,000 years. And I think everybody knows, when it comes to humanity, we are always depicted as a violent species. This is something that a lot of literature likes to show. It's something that's constantly in movies, TV shows, manga, anime. It's always in stuff like this, and it's for a good reason, because there's always heavy debates about, we are destroying things on the planet, etc. I'm not going to get too deep in that, but the point is that it's a huge message, something that has been heavily debated throughout the, history of humanity. And you have it to where the gods are like, do we need to even give them another 1,000 years? It's like they're not even worth, giving more time to. They've shown time and time again that they cause endless destruction, and they bring, warrant destruction on places that don't deserve it, etc. And they're like, let's just get rid of them. So the gods all come together and is like, let's end humanity. You have Zeus there, Odin there, you have Thor there, you have, Heimdall there, you have Brunhild there, you have all sorts of individuals that are all there. Well, Brunhilde isn't really a god. She's a Valkyrie, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But the point is that you have all these legendary figures that are kind of all situated, and they all agree that humanity should be destroyed. So you have Brunhilde, which pops up, and I think she's more of the MC of this story, and little FYI, if you're not aware of who she is a famous Valkyrie in mythology, of Norse mythology. She was someone that was actually kind of like a princess in some depictions of her story, and she's always had these depictions to where, like, she didn't like certain individuals, so she would choose the other side, and it looks like her overall mythological story is being tied in with her trying to side with the humans and give them actually a chance. There's a lot of things that are thrown in, especially with this first chapter, that makes mythology really good with the story so far that I have seen. For instance, Heimdall is a good example of that. I love how Heimdall, was, tooting his horn, like he was, blowing through the horn, initiating the battle, because that's kind of what he's known for. Heimdall was the one that's, like, kind of the controller and protector of the Bifrost in Norse mythology, and just seeing him actually there, being able to, kind of initiate the tournament that was happening, I was just like, I like these little nods to, characters that some might not be aware of. Point is, though, is that you have Brunhilde, which is someone that steps in for humanity. She's kind of like, look, you gods are trying to destroy them, so let's do Ragnarok. Let's initiate Ragnarok, and let's actually give humanity a chance. And they're like, wait, what? And then she's like, the clause here is that we would have, a battle between humans and gods. And basically, you would have 1v1 fights between a god and a human, and whoever wins, they go into a bracket. And basically, when enough humans lose, the gods win and destruction happens. That's basically what's going on here. So it is effectively a tournament arc, or a tournament series. It's about literally pitting two iconic individuals against each other, which is really, okay, the presentation is definitely unique, but in terms of what it is, like tournament, etc., it's something we've seen time and time again, but it does not mean it's bad. But carrying a little bit forward with what I'm talking about, though, the fact is that when she tries to come up with this, like, trying to how to save humanity, she is now tasked with picking heroic figures throughout the course of human history. For millions of years and all that's happened throughout the course of, human history, she tries to pick individuals that could stand out. And the first one she chooses in this first chapter is Lu Bu. Now, Lu Bu, I know some things about him. I'm not fully acquainted with Lu Bu as I am with someone like, let's say, Guan Yu, because I know a lot more about Guan Yu than Lu Bu. But I know Lu Bu because of the Dynasty Warrior games I used to play as a kid, and I always knew that he was a scary man in Dynasty Wars. Have you ever played those games? Have you ever played Dynasty Warriors? You know what I'm talking about. Lu Bu is no joke. Like, he would just destroy you for no reason. Like, he wouldn't even try. He would just decimate you. You'd lose everything. And the thing is that is the first human hero to step up to face the gods. And the god that Lu Bu is facing is Thor himself, the god of thunder. So it's quite the matchup with the first chapter, Thor versus Lu Bu. And I've heard that later on down the line, eventually you have it to where, like, Adam pops up, the first human. I'm really interested to see where the story is going to go. It has a awesome presentation. Like, I love the themes of mythology. And that's always something I always try to say I love. And it really can make a story kind of elevated to a whole other level if it's done right. For instance, it's kind of why I love Attack on Titan. Like, if you know about the latest stuff of Attack on Titan, you know what I'm talking about. All the Norse mythology stuff. And when you see this going on, I'm like, well, we got quite a good series here, especially with also the reference of Ragnarok. As a little FYI about Ragnarok, too, Ragnarok is kind of where most of all the gods die. They pretty much all die when Ragnarok begins. And so it's kind of ironic that Ragnarok's getting initiated and you have humans being pitted up against the gods, because it basically lets us know that the gods are going to die. But at the same time, there's probably going to be some twisted turns that are going to be very different. It's probably going to take liberties with, mythology to do its own story, which is completely fine. If they do one-on-one adaptation of, let's say, these mythological stories, it wouldn't make for a full 100% interesting, manga, in my personal opinion. But I do think that, there's going to be some characters that are going to stay true to who they are. For instance, Thor. I think many have a kind of an improper impression of Thor, and when it comes to Marvel movies and stuff, Thor in mythology isn't a fully of a good guy. If you've played, let's say, God of War, you know what I'm talking about. If you have known anything else besides depictions of Odin and, like, movies and stuff that shows him as a good guy, you'll know Odin is not a good guy by any means. He did a lot of bad things. Zeus as well, if you've ever played God of War. And it's just like, yeah, I do like some of these things that's being shown here, showing that personality from Odin, showing that personality from Zeus, showing, Heimdall, showing even incubuses. I'm assuming eventually Satan and someone's going to probably pop up in the story, which is going to be interesting to say the least. But overall, though, I will say that Record of Ragnarok, it's got my attention. I like it. I do definitely recommend it. If you're interested in something that's going to be kind of like a battle series, but with gods and famous heroes against each other, by all means, you should start it. It's going to probably be good. I don't know how many chapters are out right now. I know it's been going on for a while because I've had recommendations for a while now. But I definitely plan on catching up. Maybe in a few days, I want to do a read-along for everybody to watch, and we can see how it is all together. But for now, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.